Welcome to Beyond the Awards, a podcast from the British Wedding Film Festival. This is where we have honest conversations with filmmakers shaping wedding cinema, nominees, winners, and industry voices. I'm Joss.
And I'm Jeff. And as co-founders with Laura and Pete of the British Wedding Film Festival, we're excited to bring these conversations to you.
For this episode of Beyond the Awards, we're joined by Chris from Storybox Cinema, a US-based filmmaker capturing luxury weddings all across the globe. Known for his mastery of atmosphere and high production value, Chris has built a reputation by taking bold risks early on and making brave choices that set him apart in a crowded market.
Today, we're taking a peek behind the curtain of luxury weddings to talk about managing the elevated expectations of high-end couples and planners and the reality of filming in world-class destinations. Chris, welcome. Chris, great to see you, mate. Welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, man. Good to see you guys.
Hi, Chris.
And hey.
Chris, you're the first guest that we have on the show who did not enter a film into the festival.
Yet.
Yes. Yeah.
So now
exactly.
You're seeing the kind of like method behind my plan by inviting you on now, aren't you?
That's right.
Yeah, we need, I just thought to myself, we need the best cinematographer in the States to come on to influence all the other Americans to enter. That's what we needed. So yeah, obviously we picked you, Chris.
That was a nice compliment that I just accepted there. Thank you, by the way.
So before we crack on and get to know about your business, let's do a little icebreaker that we always do with all of our guests and ask you for 2 truths and 1 lie, please.
I have a really short cat. A really, really tiny cat with tiny legs. I have a titanium plate, like right in my wrist. Okay, so that was one. One is I have a titanium plate in my wrist from when I hurt myself younger, but I actually got a metal plate installed in my wrist, and it actually helps with gimbal use. Side note, little bit later in my career, because it doesn't get as tired.
If it can be useful to filmmaking. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The cat's no use for filmmaking, I take it.
And then I used to, like, in the beginning of my career, when I launched, I would sleep in what's now known as like some of the world's worst hostels in New York City, just to be able to get out there and work. And I've later seen them on TikTok as some of the craziest hostels in New York City. But I'd be in there with black suits and black ties and go into galas.
Wow. They are very varied, those facts.
Yeah, we tried to throw it out anywhere.
Well,
Yeah, the cat one intrigues me. I'm not going to lie, Chris. It's so random that I'm like, why?
A small cat with very short legs.
It may or may not be sitting right behind me. So, okay.
Yeah, that'd be a dead giveaway, wouldn't it?
Chris.
Sorry, Joss. I'm just trying to...
Go for it.
I'm just trying to think, because I've got such a bad memory. I'm just trying to think whether the titanium plate thing might have been mentioned in Saint-Tropez when we worked together. I don't know.
I can just use that gimbal all day.
Didn't you? Right, yeah. Okay, sorry, Joss. Crack on.
That's all right. I will want to get into the gimbal conversation, not gimbal specifically, but like your way of shooting to achieve some of the shots that you achieve. But before we do that, Chris, we'll come back to those 3 facts at the end. I'd love to know more. You've worked with Jeff before. A lot of our listeners, even though there's an international base, they might not have heard of you or Storybox Cinema. I'd love for you to kind of talk us through you, Storybox, the story, all of that good stuff, so that we can understand who you are a bit more and what you guys do.
VidFlow helps wedding and event filmmakers deliver their films in a premium Netflix-style experience that feels as cinematic as the work itself. Instead of juggling different platforms, download links, and USB sticks, VidFlow brings everything together into one beautifully branded platform.
And the best part, your couples can watch their films directly on their TV using the dedicated TV app from VidFlow. No HDMI cable, no USB sticks. Just open the app and press play.
If you want your delivery experience to feel just as premium as the films you create, visit VidFlow.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll give you the high level and you get ask anything that seems interesting. But yeah, I'm Chris with Storybox Cinema. This is about my 10th year in business, I think. Yep. And yeah, like I'm lucky enough to get to travel around the world and get to work with like some incredible clients and just rooms that I don't feel like I ever deserve to be in, and these really incredible parties and celebrations and special events for a lot of our clients. And we got teams that travel all over the world, not just mine. We have a great crew. But I started out in Cleveland, Ohio, 10 years ago. I actually opened a wedding venue out there as well, and started doing filmmaking. I came from the documentary kind of commercial world of filmmaking, and then ended up starting my own business. And one of my good friends at the time asked me to film their wedding, and I thought, these two people are just stunning. This would be good in my film reel. Like, if I was to shoot a wedding, this shot is going to look cool. And that kind of set me on a trajectory of, at that time I was using gimbals. This was 10 years, well, longer than that, like maybe 10 or 12 years ago when I shot that first wedding. I was shooting on a Red. I was shooting on the Movi. Not the Pro wasn't out yet at the time. So, I just used the tools that I was used to using on production sets, because that's kind of where my head was at. And so I ended up shooting this wedding, and it got a lot of, buzz, and a lot of their friends were interested. And I realized that they paid money. I thought that was pretty cool to get paid for filming, and started on that track for a little while. And then it took me about 2 years to kind of fully accept that I actually really, really liked this. I think I felt it was, other people's judgment at that time of just, a younger person and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I remember wedding filmmaking wasn't cool, and I wanted to be a DP, and I wanted to shoot commercials, and that's what I was doing. But in reality, and maybe I will, and now fast forward, I get to do some of that stuff, which is really cool. But at the time, I was really interested in real stories. I studied photojournalism all through college. And so weddings ended up making and kind of becoming this really cool little world where, like, and I've said it a lot of places, but I don't mean to just repeat myself, but we have these bookends, we know what's happening. And in that, then there's all this room that for me to like play and get to, and to get to experiment and try new things with this safety net of knowing what's going on. So I got a little bit of the best of both worlds of like, okay, we know the script generally. And then within that, we still have that this is a real moment happening in front of my lens, and that kind of gets me fired up. And so, yeah, then I went full into it, and decided to go full wedding films or event films. But yeah, I mean, primarily we do weddings, and then on it went. And I think fast forward to where I am now, I think there's a lot of hard work, but honestly, a lot of luck, being in the right place at the right time, in the industry, in the right time. There wasn't a lot of, at that moment, around 10 to 12 years ago, a lot of people were using wedding filmmaking to then get out and to go do amazing, amazing work. And there's still production companies I follow this day that I know started and did really beautiful weddings. But I just remember thinking, I think there's a world, if they're all leaving, what's up here? Like, and I just felt like there wasn't a lot of competition or a lot of people doing it at a super high level at that time. And so I felt like I kind of went after that. I had some wisdom somehow as a young person and decided to go after something that I look back now and I'm like, wow, that was smart of you. Good job. And a lot of that was just timing. There wasn't a ton of competition out there at that time. And I feel like I worked my butt off and brought in something that was really new at the time as well, with kind of the gimbals and the cinema cameras. And at that point, everyone was using sliders and DSLRs and,
Yeah,
which I love, but I was just like, I think this looks really cool. Like, I should just do this. And so, that's a little bit of, I'm like, that's a high level of kind of how I got into it. And then
do you still use cinema cameras now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You do?
Yeah. Still rocking the Red Komodos. We have a bunch of different cameras now, but, I shot on Reds for a long time. Well,
I guess
my whole career.
It saves on kind of gym fees, doesn't it, when you're shooting a wedding on a Red?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
How big is your crew, by the way, Chris? You talked about we've got a whole crew. Now, how big is your team?
Yeah, I mean, so just on the logistics side, we have 2 people that work full time for me. We have amazing operations director, Allison, and then I got Mary that works with me as my assistant, mostly just to keep me like, I just have a lot of people working to keep me going, because I'm a little all over. But beyond that, we have a great group of shooters that work with us all around the world that have worked with us for, we try to keep that stuff pretty consistent. So we've had people with us pretty much the whole time. But we have a core team of probably 8 people that we work with very consistently and travel the world with. And then we have Armin, who's on our team, who has his own, he shoots his own weddings under Storybox and has done incredible work around the world. And same with Caitlin. She leads one of our teams as well. But we all come together often for our really big events. So, yeah.
It
We can
strikes
get
me
as
that,
big or tiny as we want.
it strikes me that there's so much more scope in the States to build a big business. But over here in the UK, there are so many of us that are just a one-man band. And then, maybe, a duo. I mean, and probably more often than not, a husband and wife, team.
Yeah,
And
sure.
that's kind of about it. And I wonder why. I wonder if it's just the budgets. Some of the American couples have got like 20 times the budget of UK couples.
I mean, that could be one. Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't like set out. I mean, I think I had some forward thinking where I didn't name my company after myself on purpose. Just I was trying to make sure in the future that it could live without me, or beyond me. And I didn't ever want the name to be in the way of that. I didn't have some grand plan at that time, but as it's progressed, I think we deliver a great product, and people sometimes have different budgets for these things, as anyone does. And so then we just started offering, I'm like, I think we can offer something really incredible that doesn't always have to be me. We have these incredible shooters that I've learned from, and, we really honed in our process. It just kind of, all my growth has always been very natural of like, okay, if people are asking for it, then okay, enough people are asking. Let's see if we can do this. So yeah, maybe that wasn't a great answer. I don't know exactly. I mean, I definitely think the budgets are bigger. So I've heard, from, people in the States, but yeah, it's just kind of been natural.
Was there, forgive me for the personal question, but you're a pretty young guy. So
sure,
how young were you when you first started?
Well, I'll tell you, so I'm 34 now. So I think I started right around when I was 24, 23.
Wow.
Crazy.
It's for that age, you've absolutely knocked the socks off the industry. It's really commendable. Honestly, it is.
I think what I like, sorry, go on, Jeff. I was going to interrupt. Go on, mate.
I was just going to say, especially under the kind of pressures that you work under. I know when I was 20 odd, I would have just collapsed under that kind of pressure. It wasn't until later in life that I could kind of find the kind of mental kind of devices to get myself through these kinds of things. So yeah. And just connected to that, was there a point when you realized that it could be big business, and is that connected to relationships you made with planners, maybe?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I'm also in your shoes as well. As I look back, I'm kind of like, how, man, I just look back at myself as a younger person. I know I'm still young. I'm 34. I get it. And people always tell me, you're still a baby. But there's been a lot of growth in that time, from being 24 and running a business to now 34, and just even the way we work and everything. I think I saw the big business right away. Like within my first year, I had a quick story. My first year when I got into business, I'd originally lived in Seattle, so on the west coast of the States for my whole life. And so I ended up moving to Cleveland. And that's when I got into weddings. I'd done my friend's wedding in Seattle, moved to Cleveland. And then people started to kind of ask me to shoot weddings. So I'd fly back for $1,000. And I was like, this is incredible. Like, I'm actually rich. Like, they're paying me $1,000. All I have to do is pay for my flight. I'll stay on a couch. This is it. Like, people don't even understand how rich I am. I got cash in my pocket, baby. And I was just like, this is incredible. Like, oh my gosh. And so I kept flying back that whole year, and nobody knew I was in Cleveland. And I'd say yes and take them and go back. And then because I grew up in Seattle, I thought, wait a second, people get married in Hawaii. Like, and so in my mind, people only got married in Seattle and Hawaii. It's the only two places I thought people got married. I had no idea. I just was like, oh my gosh, I want to travel. I want to go to Hawaii. And I know people do weddings out there. So this was back in the day when you really could kind of just like meet people on Instagram. And I'd messaged a planner from Hawaii and said, hi, I'd love to shoot anything for you. Like, I'm starting out and blah, blah, blah. And she invited me to go to the Knot Gala. And the Knot is a big wedding website and magazine publication here in the States. And maybe they're overseas. I don't know. They are. But they have a big gala in New York, and she said, well, why don't you come to this gala? And I said, I've never heard of such a thing. And so I emailed like the founder of the Knot and the main people like 30 times, and until I was just like, I pay for I pay for ads, look at all my ads. I pay for this. I really think I should be there. I mean, I emailed them so many times, and like finally, probably out of just to like get me out of their inbox, they sent me a ticket, and I was like, great. It was black tie. I had no clue what that was. I went to Men's Warehouse and I looked like I was a high schooler in prom. Like I had a cummerbund on. I was like, they said black tie. I need to have a black tie. Like I had no clue. And I went to this event and it just kind of blew my mind. I'd never really seen anything so extravagant. And then at that point, I met that planner. She said, "Oh my gosh, you're 10 years old." I had no idea. I showed her, I showed her some work that I had on I brought like an iPad and was like, "Hey, here's," and I just shot a wedding. And even at that time, this was 10 years ago, I was, and not trying to brag, but I think it came from me shooting in the production world. So I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't know any rules about anything. And so, not that this is so great, but 10 years ago, I was doing like first looks with the drone and like just trying to get different angles, just like how would I shoot this as a filmmaker and not a wedding person? Because at that point, I didn't want to be a wedding person. I was like, I'm not a wedding person. So I showed her that, and it really kind of struck her. She's like, "This is really cool. Like, this is just so different. Would you like to come out and shoot for the Four Seasons in Lanai? They're opening up their property again." I had no clue what that was. I said, "Sure. Sounds like a trip to Hawaii. Incredible." I thought it was the Four Seasons Sheraton. No idea, but I stepped off that plane, went to the Four Seasons Lanai. Ends up, it's like one of the top hotels in the US and maybe the world several years in a row, or very high up there. It ended up being their opening. Like I was shooting the styled shoot for the new events business that was happening as this Larry Ellison owns the island, and they had redone that whole property. And so I didn't know any of this. And so this was like the opening. This was the main film and for kind of all their events business. And
Wow.
I still look back at that work today and I'm like, that was really good. Like I would
really
just put
cool.
stuff into it. And so, but going to that Four Seasons and feeling, I still get goosebumps. Like you can see the hairs on my face because I had no clue. And I walked in there into a 5-star luxury resort. They knew my name. They knew where I flew from. Every staff member knew my name. The photographer I worked with, Mike Adrian, was dressed nicely. He was charismatic. He took care of the clients. I mean, he took care of the models as if they're clients. We had a great time. We worked hard. We shot well. We also drank well and ate well afterwards. And I was like, just whatever this is, like whatever I love this and I want more of this. And so it really opened my eyes at an early point in my career, like within that first year. And then I was like, okay, I need to do this stuff. And I think I realized at that point, you ask about planners. I think I realized somehow very quickly that at that level, it's not about, I'm not reaching out to the clients. The clients have people that are in charge of everything. So within a year, I was going straight to the world's top planners. And I still look back at DMs now from like 10 years ago and I'm like, ooh, cringy. Wow. I was just emailing everyone. But I just didn't know anything. I had no clue. And I think that actually helped me. I didn't have any of the names or what you should or shouldn't do, or I just was like fresh. And I came in and I was just like, I can do this. And like, I will do it. And obviously getting humbled along the way and learning good lessons and all these things. And not that there are rules, but I think there's certain things, you start to learn and kind of how you move through. But I think that sort of that innocence and just like, I didn't know anything about anything actually really helped me. And kind of not being someone that said I wanted to become a wedding filmmaker. It was, I was a filmmaker. And that used to actually be a sales thing when I would do these calls. I was like, we're not wedding guys or gals. We are filmmakers that happen to do weddings. And I guess that still is true today, but I'm happy to claim weddings. I love weddings.
That's really inspiring though. And that's such good advice for, kids starting out now. It's like, just have no shame, attack it and just, don't be afraid of, annoying people. just
totally.
Go for it.
I would email people so many times and now I look back and I'm like, now they're good friends and people that I work with often. Yeah. So I'll look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, chill. Like,
did you take that approach to, because a huge part of you and, your team's work is destination weddings as well. Did you take that approach to like the destination kind of space? So actually working abroad, like outside of America?
Yep. Yeah. So I can jump into that story really quick and cut me off if it's too much, but
go for it. No, this is interesting.
Cool. Yeah. I think it's interesting too. I mean, I look back and I'm just like, I can learn some lessons for myself. Like I should keep doing some of these things. So after that Four Seasons job, it really it happened quickly to where I really connected with a lot of the gals there at the Four Seasons and the sales managers and some of the events people. And they were, it was interesting. They saw stuff in my work that not many people noticed at the time. And so some of these gals were pretty tuned in to media and were like, we're noticing you're doing sound design. Like I would do sound design 10 years ago in my films, the clinking of the glasses, the birds and everything. And the music, I took a lot of pride in my music. Not that anyone doesn't, but just at that time, I felt like so much of the work out there was cheesy and just kind of like, and I just tried to make these like movies back then. And so these gals kind of recognized that. And I thought that was really cool because not many people could maybe name why something was cool. And then they asked me, hey, have you ever been to Engage? Like we're all going to Engage in the next month. And that was a big kind of luxury video, or not video, but a luxury events business. Maybe you guys have heard of it. It goes all around the world. And I had enough people ask me if I was going that I was like, I might as well go. So I called Catherine. I just pick up the phone, called the number on the Engage website. It was happening in a week. And she was, I'm sure I can tell it now, but she's kind of like, shh, don't tell anyone. Okay. If, you can come in, that's great. And I was like, cool. I have no idea what this thing is. And so I felt like I just had a lot of momentum. I went to that conference and it was just more of the same in a good way of like, my gosh, what is this? This conference was in Mexico at an Azook Resort, another 5-star property. And just the design and, they throw the events for the event people. So you pay to go and you have your speakers and, you get to go to your own parties. And I tell you what, event people like to party, but it was just so inspiring to go there. I mean, I just like felt like I was lifting my jaw off the floor each time because I was just like, this is so incredible. Like the experience of it. I loved it. Like not just as a videographer, but just as an attendee, as somebody like, it really felt magical and it still does to me. But so I went there, did that. I had actually emailed the gals who started Engage probably 30 times as well, saying like even a year prior, ask, hey, I'll film this event for you. Little did I know it's a very coveted position to be able to film said event. And I kept emailing, and I went to one Engage and then I got a call or an email from them, maybe 6 months or so later, and asking me if I could come, film their event in Sardinia, Italy. And that was 2017, 2018. And I said, sure. Got all the money in my bank account, brought in my friend, bought all my flights there. I mean, literally, my story is so many times of just like emptying my bank account for this opportunity or said thing and just being like, okay, let's freaking do it. Went there, shot that. We did a same day edit that then went up on the screen, and I had footage from the gala where we were watching the gala or where we were watching the film. I had footage from that like 5 minutes prior in the film that we exported and put up. I just wanted to wow people, and it did. And at that point, there was no other videographers that would come to Engage. I'd been to a couple by that point. I remember going into the Facebook groups and telling everyone, like, you guys should go to this. There's a room full of the top planners in the world and the top photographers in the world. They're all just there. And they're like, no, you need to do Facebook ads. And I'm like, no, you should take the money you're paying on Facebook ads and just actually meet the people that you're trying to target, because they're just all here in this room. Like, to me, that stuff became easy because you're just like, there's no guessing. We don't have to try to find them. They're sitting in this room in Sardinia, Italy. I should go to that room. And so I went there, and then so I was the only filmmaker. Again, a lot of this is just kind of like timing and luck and happening. Now there's so many people that come to Engage, all filmmakers. But at the time, it was really just me. I was in a room of 200 of the top planners in the world internationally. They got a standing ovation, and I was kind of like, what's happening? And I remember in that moment, everyone was clapping to me, and my good friend Phil looked over at me, and I was overwhelmed. I was just kind of like, what's happening? And he's like, what's your price? And I was like, $3,000. And everyone's applauding. He's like, you need to triple it right now. And I was like, what? And I was like, wait. He's like, triple it right now. All these people are going to come up to you, like, still as everyone's applauding. He's like, you have to triple it. And I was like, no way. Because previously I could never get anything over $5,000, like nothing over $5,000. So then I just,
I've lost work.
I got into I went to a group of people. They asked me, I was sitting kind of, I'd been accepted for a moment. So the next morning I was sitting in a group of all these top planners trying to like relax and look cool, by the pool. And someone asked like, hey, Chris, how much do you cost to film a wedding? And this is like, a lot of big names are sitting right there. And I was like, okay, whatever I say right now is it. And I really wanted to say $8,000 because that was kind of the biggest I'd ever pitched. But I was like, $20,000. And they're like, oh, great, amazing. Everyone's like, cool. And then, and I was like, okay. Then from there, I thought I'd made it at that point. I thought I was like, I've done it. I've made it. I had not. I had just kind of, the door had just been cracked. I had like the smallest crack of a door open. After that, I sent gifts, personalized gifts to every single planner there. I'll give all my secrets. I've told them many times. I do video folders. At that time, I was trying to figure out how to make video physical, because I did, I even myself at that time, I would delete emails all the time, and like it's just hard. There's so much going on, and I was not even that busy. And so I just felt like, man, if I send these planners a link to my work, that like, it's just going to get deleted. Like, and I was so jealous of photography where you could send something and they couldn't throw it away. And so I found this supplier at the time, and now it's a big business and people email me all the time for these video folders, where you can like open them up and they play a video. And now there's all these things out there that do that.
I've never seen anything like that.
That's really cool.
It's very cool. And so I got 300 of those, fully branded out as Storybox, emptied my bank account again, bought all those, and had my reel on there, and I put my logo and their logo. So each one was specific to the client or to the planner. I mailed that to them. The idea, and they were expensive. The idea being that was a physical product that they would feel bad throwing away, and it would have to sit on their desk and they'd have to watch it. And even if they just open it once, they're going to forcefully, it plays automatically. So there's no email to open. There's no link to get lost in. And they played that. And then I wrote them each a letter and a personalized gift, offering them a free film, all expenses paid. I said, I just want the opportunity to work with you. And every single one of them took that offer. And that was kind of scary because I was not expecting that.
I just want to take some notes.
For about a year, I was working locally in Cleveland where I was living, just doing like my local weddings, and doing all these free events around the world just to get my foot in the door. And I barely made it through, because the other difficult part with that is you have to have those dates open. So I was turning down paid work to do free work. So it was very intentional. I can dive into it however much you want, but that's kind of the story of how I got into it. Again, a lot of luck, being at the right place at the right time. Also a lot of hard work and kind of seeing the opportunities there.
That's definitely not luck. I mean, you engineer your own luck, and I think that's what you did here.
Yeah,
you made yourself available at the right time, at the right place, with the right people. I think it's definitely not luck. It sounds like you grinded hard.
Yeah, and you made the absolute best of every opportunity that was presented to you. That's not luck.
I do try.
That's inspiring. I did actually seriously want to make some notes. So video folder. So I'll Google that. I'll find those. And what was that event that you went to?
Engage conference.
Engage. Right. Okay.
Now they do them all over. I'm going to Puglia later this year with them, but it's such a huge part of my career, because I just think what I learned from that, and then I'll shut up, is that things happen in person all the time.
Yeah.
And so things don't happen over email; they happen in person. And so even from Engage, what I ended up learning, Engage is definitely an investment to go. But what I realized is things happen in person. So after Engage, then I would email all the planners who I didn't connect with, and I would just say, like, this happened often, but one of my good friends, Allison Events, I don't even know if she knows this story, but I just emailed. She lived in San Francisco. I lived in Cleveland. I said, hey, I happen to be in San Francisco this weekend. Can I drop you guys coffee off at your office? Just, that's it. So I tried to make the ask very low. I tried to make it not something that was me imposing, that I was already there. So I'm not needy or like I need anything from them. And she's like, oh, that'd be great. That'd be wonderful. Like, this time works. And so then I booked my flight. I flew to San Francisco. I got coffee. I dropped it off, and then I flew home. And then we ended up booking 2 events with them. Like, just that human connection, just being able to chat with somebody.
It's expensive coffee, that, Chris.
Yeah, but then it's not. That's the thing. It's like not.
But then it's
expensive.
not. Yeah. Like, yeah.
I booked 2 events from one flight for like $500.
Yeah, that's true.
And $15 a coffee. I booked much more than that. So I think I just started to realize, like, oh, there's a different way to kind of go about this stuff than just these Facebook ads, or like posting our videos on Vimeo, or boosting it on Facebook, or like. And I just felt like, okay, no one is here, and I just kind of sprinted with it at the time.
I've often said in the past, I mean, you've taken it to a whole new level, but I've often said interpersonal relationships and word of mouth trumps everything else. There's no algorithm to word of mouth other than just being a nice guy.
Yeah.
So that it's so nice to hear, your story. And, if you'd have come on here and said, oh, you know what, it's all about the SEO, I'd have been like, oh,
boring.
So that's great. I didn't know any of this about you. That's really cool.
I want to ask though, because we've talked a lot about the business side, but like, how would you describe your work, the actual product you deliver, the films you deliver? Like, your website talks about documentary, cinematic, which are kind of like buzzwords in the industry, but how would you, in your own words, kind of describe that, what you do?
Yeah. I mean, I think those still ring true. And I studied, photojournalism. And so that really does come into play. It's not, I agree it is a buzzword, but it really does come from a place of studying journalism, studying photojournalism, capturing moments, that rapport you build with people when you're reporting and having to feel, people need to feel safe around you for you to capture great news images. And so I learned a lot of that through school. I would say that we're documentary filmmakers, but we're also I would say cinematic documentary filmmakers. And what the heck does that mean? But I tell our clients and I tell our shooters and every time we go in, it's our job to reflect what's going on. I kind of see myself as a mirror of like, we want to show what is actually happening. And yes, we're going to romanticize parts of it. And we obviously want it to look cool. And at the end of the day, I wanted to watch like what it felt like to be there. And the example I give for that is like, a lot of times people are dancing on the dance floor and just having the time of their freaking lives. But if you were to step back and look, it kind of looks a little lame. Like it's just a bunch of adults who are not dancing that well with music. And like, it's maybe not objectively that cool looking, but man, when you're in that dance floor, it feels like you are having the time of your life. And so we wanted to watch like what it felt like to be there. And so we don't, it's important for us to capture that feeling and to make sure or like when you pull out your phone and try to take a photo of the moon and you're like, that is not even what it looks like. And so we wanted to see, our job is to make it look like what it felt like. And so that's what we really try to do. And I want to show off truly what did happen at that event. Obviously we want to make our clients look great. And, we're not trying to make people look weird or bad poses. It's not that we don't do that, but I want it to look like what it felt like to be there. And that's important to me, that we really capture that essence. And I think within that, then if I was to go one step further, now that I have kind of like thoughts about it and kind of how we go about it, but I think for us, like the music and the movement of people during a wedding day really influence then how we work. I like, if it's all strings and black tie and very, very proper, we're going to shoot in a little bit of a different way. We're going to edit in a little bit of a different way than if we're at a beach and it's a party and it's at a beach club in Saint-Tropez and people are dancing. We're going to shoot differently there. And I think, even to jump forward again, I think that's what's really cool about the industry now and you guys have interviewed a bunch of like some incredible filmmakers on here that are doing really fun new things. But I think it's kind of opening up and people's media literacy is big. And so we have different styles coming out now. And so it's been fun to kind of reach back to a lot of my cinematography background and actually shooting commercials and working on documentaries and movies and bringing that stuff back and kind of being like, oh, it feels like the time is now where we can actually start doing more. And so that's been really fun. But yeah, at the end of the day, I want people to watch that and say, that's what it felt like. That is so cool. That's what it felt like to be there. So
one thing I did learn through working with you, Chris, is just how important the short reel is in today's business, because that was always an afterthought. I kind of grew up in a different era where it was all about, your 3 to 5 minute video, and that's what people watched, and that was it. And I was still stuck in that mindset, even all the way up to when I was working with you. Sure. 2 years ago, was it?
Yeah,
about that. So I just remember thinking, you can see that most of the creativity has gone into the reel, and you could. And it was just such a mind-blowing kind of revelation for me, because I was making reels, but they were afterthoughts. I put all my effort into the main movie and then half my effort into the highlights. And then by the time I'm coming around to the reel, I'm over it.
Yeah.
So
it's tired.
That very, very much kind of like made me realize that, I should be putting 99% of my effort into the reel, really. because that's the thing that everyone's going to share, just as they used to with the 3-minute edit. And I don't know if it's people's attention span or what, or maybe it's the fact that you can be more creative with a reel. You can.
Yeah.
I don't know, and you can take more risks, maybe.
Totally. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think and it was a hard transition because I was editing all of our films. I had an editor working for me, but I was of the belief that nobody can edit like me. I am the best. But that was a little Trumpy. Whoa. Okay. Well, but I just thought nobody can do it for me. And I think that's a lie that a lot of us believe, that we are, my hands are I do it the best. And so, but I realized I can't do all of this. And so I started to train up my editor. He took on our main films, and I just did see a lot of value. And as the owner, and my job is to push it forward and to take risks. Excuse me. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to change the way I shoot. I'm going to now shoot wider. I'm going to shoot so that everything, and it looks weird for widescreen. But that even goes back to why I was shooting on red, because we can punch in. We're shooting on 6K RAW, and so we can actually make those films look really, really great. But I just thought, and everyone didn't like the vertical, because I get it. It's kind of it's cutting everything off, and everyone hates it. And even now we're coming back to where now we're doing different sizing, which is really exciting. But I think at that time, I don't know. I have a lot of marketing things I think about, and all these, I'm not just a filmmaker. I think about a lot of stuff, and all I saw was I don't know why everyone's complaining. Everyone wants to watch our videos. They just want to watch them vertical. Let's make them vertical. If we have people begging, if you have all the social media sites hoping people upload content, listen to them. And I have a different perspective on it. I'm let's do it. Let's play ball. I like the game that is presented to me, and I like playing in those rules and trying to beat it. And so at that point, I was just oh my gosh, these are getting so many views, and they're not even as good as they could be, because I'm shooting for a totally different aspect ratio that maybe the family's going to watch. Or maybe their close friend. That's never going to be posted anywhere. And a lot of our clients are all NDA, but they will share their highlight reel. So I just started switching all of my effort into those highlight films. And that's not to say that our main films have taken a hit, because now my editor is way better than me. I'm not the best editor. But what is cool now is basically I try to push the creative through those reels, and that's where I get to try things and play and try new ideas. And then he will then take that and then do it really well for the main film, and kind of bring that style choice into the film. And so now we have a good system. But yeah, it's we have so many eyes on that, and social media has really exploded, I think, the wedding industry as a whole, because of how visual it is and how crazy, and people one-upping each other, wanting to do crazy things at their events. And I think video is obviously is so important right now, with just showing what's happening, and now it's with everything, BTS, for the caterer, for the planner, for everyone. It's we need our own film crew shooting us to shoot BTS. It's crazy where we're at in society with how much media is being pumped out. But I find that to all be a very good thing for video people. People need our work and want it. And I think we can all get frustrated about the needs and the wants, but I'm at the end of the day, people are begging for videos. That's a great spot to be. It's a really good spot to be if you're a filmmaker, because everyone needs content.
Do you notice a difference between Europeans and Americans in that way, in terms of expectations, even at a wedding, on a wedding day, and styles and what the expectations are, or not at all? Or do you just
clients?
You do you? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard now. I think so many of our clients are bigger names, and so much of our work is NDA these days, where they really don't care about posting. They don't need anything posted, or want to, or really to share anything. And I would say a lot of our, I don't know. I actually don't know if I have a full, people are excited regardless, and we make them regardless now, so people can see it. They think regardless, they're excited to see themselves, and as anyone would be. And I think also it really helps with the rapport, especially if you can get an edit done the first day and you come the next day and you're like, hey, check this out. If they had questioned anything about you before, kind of what's this video person asking me to do? Or if you're still trying to kind of get in and break those walls down, having a video from the night before really does that kind of instantly, because they're like, oh, I look incredible. And everything looks really, you're like, yeah. I know what I'm doing. Like, so now,
And
and
so
then
you,
from that point on, people listen to me a lot more, and then I'm able to take bigger creative risks or try something new, because now it's not trying to convince them just to do the basic thing. It's like, they just listen a lot more
so
in
do
a
you
good
do?
way. And I think like video is always under photo a little bit. So sometimes it's like, whatever, the video person. So always trying to fight to get that relationship there.
So do you do same day edits or overnight edits a lot then?
Yes.
That's a secret weapon, isn't it? Definitely. And
Yeah. I started doing
I'm
that about,
surprised you can do that with Red.
yeah. You know what? Apple and Red have like a beautiful love child where I can edit 6K Red RAW on my little Mac Pro. I've been doing it
Whoa.
for years, and it's no issue. Like, I don't do proxies. I don't do any of that. I can edit right off the card, or I drop it on an SSD, or
Wow.
I drop it on a hard drive, and it still is great. So, and I try to edit
Wow.
Sony stuff or other things at times, and it like bugs up my computer. But like Red and Apple had a great relationship where they made that the codec. See, I'm not techie, but I'm going to get murdered from all your viewers. But like the codec and everything just works so incredibly with Apple, and somehow I can edit Red RAW right there. So yeah,
I never knew that. I just assumed
cool.
there was this massive big workflow kind of like stream that you had to get through. And
no, it's
so, yeah,
pretty
that's
easy.
just-
Yeah.
wow. Careful, you're gonna cost me a lot of money if you keep bigging up Reds, because those which is it that has this kind of cheap compared to the rest, but it has a global
Komodo.
shutter.
The Komodo.
Right, yeah,
And
they
that's
look
what,
cool.
so yeah, like 5 years ago, I bought like 4 Red Komodos. And so now all of our shooters shoot on them. And I mean, it's a little different now. I mean, I still love them. They're a dynamic range. I will say, my ADD is peaking up right now. I will say in the beginning, that was a very intentional choice. So I purposely bought a Red when I started 10 years ago. And I knew it was crazy. And I knew people, I mean, I got so many filmmakers were just like, you're an idiot. Why are you doing that? That's dumb. But I knew people knew the name Red. And I knew they didn't know Black Magic. I knew they didn't really know Canon or what, like maybe they'd heard of those names, but they knew Red, and they knew Red had filmed Lord of the Rings because there's all those docs on behind the scenes. And so every time I wanted my clients to feel like they were getting their value. I wanted it to just be clear. And so when I would walk into a wedding, I mean, still to this day, people are just like, is that an $80,000 camera? Wow. Oh my gosh. Now, yes. But at the time, it made people feel very important and like they knew and they could connect. And so that was a very intentional choice. I'd say nowadays we're in such a cool spot with technology, but like all cameras are insane now. But I just happen to love the Red. It's what I've grown up on. I know how to use it. I know how to color it. And it's like an extension of me. And I have a great relationship with Red now. And now they've been purchased by Nikon. And so I just got the Nikon ZR, which is an incredible little camera. But yeah, I mean, I just think they're great cameras, and they just produce a beautiful image that I've yet to kind of feel like I've seen in other cameras. I could, I'm sure if you did a side by side, I might fail there, but I love.
What's your setup like on a wedding day, Chris, in terms of kit? And don't talk me through the entire kit, but mostly on the camera side. Do you gimbal it? Do you handheld?
Yeah, I do gimbal. I just have a Ronin gimbal, and I have my Red on there, and I got a little battery and a monitor. I keep it very simple. I have an 18 to 35, and that's kind of my go-to lens that I rock everywhere. So, yeah, it's pretty minimal for me.
It's very interesting, and I get it. Absolutely get it. That people feel more important because there are these cinema cameras that everyone knows are cinema cameras, and it's very interesting. I relatively recently decided I definitely had to have global shutter, and I was like and ahhing between the Komodo and what I've actually ended up getting, which was a Sony A9 III.
Cool.
And they're pretty expensive, the Sony A9 IIIs. So, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I mean, there's always buyer's. I get the worst buyer's remorse, like even, 3 years later, I'm thinking, did I make the right decision? But, what do you have to add to a Red Komodo in order to make it usable? And how much expense?
The nice part now, they're pretty cheap. I mean, they've come down quite a bit. I think people still make fun of me with a Red Komodo, and I'm like, I think your camera's more expensive. Like, you could buy a new Komodo for maybe like $4,000 now, or a little bit under.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they're not that expensive now.
But then you got to get the monitor.
Yes, I mean, yeah. So there's some extras there that cost a little bit of monitor. I think I spent $1,000 on just for a really great monitor that was OLED, and I've loved that thing. And then the media is a little expensive, so you're paying. I mean, for me, I have a couple terabyte cards, and I think those are maybe each. Well, now they're probably more expensive, but maybe $1,000 a piece, and that's hard. And then the batteries are expensive. But at this point, I mean, they're not that expensive anymore. I mean, so it's just, and you got to get a couple connectors, and those are obviously all proprietary and a little not cheap. But man, you could set up a red Komodo kit for the whole thing with a Ronin now for what, under like, I feel like under $8,000, like, and you'd be
Wow.
under $7,000, and you'd have and you could buy one used. I mean, they're great cameras. They're mine are beat up. I use those things.
That's amazing how much they've come. I mean, when I first started, there was
just be a lot more than that, actually.
Yeah, when I first started, there was just the red one, which is it's got worse dynamic range than an iPhone now.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were what, 100 grams?
Crazy. Yeah,
at least.
I mean, my first red was, I think, like $18,000, and then it's just kind of gone down and down and down. But yeah, I love them. They're just easy to use. I think for me, it's like, because I'm shooting in RAW all the time, it's just a part of I don't even think about that stuff at all. Like I'm actually not super techie, and people think that's funny because maybe it is, but the red allows me to not be techie. I can change the ISO later. I can change the color temperature later. It just lets me focus on what's in front of me. And yeah, I'm trying to make sure settings are right when I can, especially shutter speed and everything. But that's all. It just is easy. It's just a touch. It's like an iPhone. You're just like, okay, this. And then afterwards I can change everything. So it just allows me to kind of be present and really focus on capturing the moments, instead of, I shot on some Sonys or some cameras that weren't RAW, and I was like, oh crap. Like, I'm so much more in my head trying to make sure everything looks right, that I was like missing all this stuff. And so obviously people are talented at that and can do that. But just the reason I'm kind of stuck with red is I just know how to use it, and it's easy for me.
How much? So RAW, how many minutes can you fit on this 1 gig? Sorry, 1 terabyte.
Like an hour
card?
and 20 minutes, and we do medium compression.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
So one wedding, how many terabytes do you shoot?
Nowadays, we're doing these multi-day weddings, and so I'd say we're at least 4 terabytes. And then we have an event coming up this weekend that's like 5 days. And I think we'll be close to 8 terabytes probably of footage.
Goodness me. Storage gets expensive too, Chris.
That's the other part. Yeah, for sure. That was the whole, you're like, oh, I got this. I have the media. Where do I put it? You're like, oh my gosh.
Oh, God.
So now, I mean, I have RAIDs and RAIDs. I just bought a new one for this year that's 190 terabytes and rated. And so, you just have to have a lot of storage. But again, all this wouldn't be working if we weren't able, working at a higher level with our amazing clients and stuff. So it all kind of
I love these conversations because so many people have completely different setups, and what we think is minimalist to one person is really not to another, and that kind of thing. So I love this conversation, even though I'm the same. I'm not actually super techie, but I appreciate some of the tech conversations. But for me, it's generally the usage, like the sort of like, how do you deploy your kit on the wedding day to kind of make use of like what works best for you. So I mean, so it does sound like yours is really minimalist actually. If it's just a gimbal and your camera, and I know you need the monitor and so on, but that's just parts and parcels of shooting red. It does sound pretty minimalist actually, particularly for the space you work in. I would have actually expected grand things like, in the luxury space. I guess it's just an expectation I had, but
I think if you show up with a red in your hand, you've just, that's like the atom bomb.
That's
and everyone will just be like,
that's true.
They won't be thinking, where's the rest of your kit? They just think, fuck me, he's got a red.
And also impresses photographers. Excuse me. But I would even say my setup is a little bit big. And I think in the luxury space, ultra luxury, whatever, all that, I really see us as a part of the event and how we move through the event. And I don't ever want someone to be distracted. And I hate if people that the difficult part with a gimbal is that people are so aware of it, and that they're being filmed. You got this thing. Luckily, I think some of these things work in my favor. I'm kind of a big dude. I'm tall. So my setup looks smaller on me, just given my size. But I don't want someone to feel like they're being filmed. And purposely, I have my monitor put on top of my camera. And so like I can look at my monitor and make eye contact right here all the time. And I've had to actually put my monitor down a few times, or even with the Nikon ZR, it comes with a little screen built in. And I was like, this is epic. Well, then I find myself doing this all the time. And I'm not looking at people. And so I love my screen on top so that I'm always there with the people in front of me and trying not to look at the screen as much as possible. And I just think, I don't want it to feel like there's a cameraman around. And so it is minimal, but I wish it could get smaller and a little bit smaller just so people aren't, you don't want people to just be like, no one likes a video camera. No one ever likes a video person. No one wants to be filmed. So
one thing that struck me actually when I worked with you was you did have backup cameras for the ceremony, but they were way, way, way backed off. I think a lot of like English guys, certainly British filmmakers, certainly would. They'd be so stressed about capturing every single moment of that what's going on under the hoopah. It was hoopah, wasn't it? Yeah. That they'd be right up there. They'd have monopods, like sort of light stand style monopods dotted around. But you were just so laid back about it. You had the backup stuff that was miles away, and then just you with your head and a drone that was so far away you couldn't hear it. And it's just, I thought, oh my God, yeah, that's a laid back way of doing it. And at the end of the day, if you miss the perfect kind of shot of someone saying something, it doesn't matter that much, does it? It's like, I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you put more emphasis on making things very entertaining and kind of like, not dramatic, that's the wrong word, but dynamic and like a proper filmmaker's approach rather than a wedding videographer's approach.
Yeah. And I think, and no, I think you're right. I think like, and part of that I will say is that I read the room for each event. So there's definitely times when maybe they want that. Maybe they want us up there and we'll know that. And then I'll for sure be up there if it's super important that we capture everything that's happening. I would say more often than not, especially with these ultra luxury events, that like I kind of said before, we're a part of the event. And if you got camera guys up there and like all these tripods and people, I get on my team a lot about even how we walk behind the ceremony. We don't run anywhere. We don't yell anyone's names. We always walk somewhere. We try to be out of sight. You don't want people to be thinking about us. I want people to be watching the ceremony, which is happening. So that's a reading of the room thing. There's definitely different cultures and different styles and people, we want this. So we'll get up close. But in that one, it's like, no, that's going to ruin everything, and that is worth a lot more than the wedding, the footage of it, because it's actually happening right now. And I will say we have those ceremonies covered very, very well, and I try to have them back just because I don't want people seeing us and cameras, and you got to go up and check them, and then if you're all the way up on the it's just distracting, and so we try to make sure the ceremony is captured very well, but really discreet, and I think that's kind of our whole thing.
Yeah, and I guess on the red you could punch in so far anyway, that you don't have to be right up in their face.
No, 100%. We do that often, where it's like, hey, we're going to get this shot, make sure it's in focus, and we're going to crop it in, and it's still 4K. It looks beautiful. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we've completely been off script for the entire session. Josh.
I like it though. This is good. I've got a couple more questions on that space and working with planners. What's the wildest request you've had from a planner?
No, I was thinking about this. Maybe they're not that crazy these days. It's just, maybe can you fly somewhere tomorrow? I was at an event and then someone's like, I came out of a house and they're like, you're driving to Boston right now and you're going to film, you're just like, okay, I don't know. The craziest, I'm trying to think. Honestly, maybe the craziest thing these days are just that we need to have edits done the next day. And that can be, I would say we still do those. They're a little bit more far and few in between. Now we do it within a week, because again, not to chatter too much, but kind of like we were saying, those social edits are so important. So if I do them the next day, I still actually spend so much time. You have to process the whole wedding and everyone's footage and look through everything. And it's just, sometimes it's just not enough space in the head to digest. Like you just got done with the wedding, you haven't slept and you're having to digest and try to put out the very best work that is going to get like hundreds of thousands of views. the next morning and you're half asleep and you're trying to make your best creative decisions. That stuff is hard. It's hard to digest all the info. And there's many times I look, just 3 days later at the footage and I'm like, there's that shot, or like, that's the thing I was looking, or that would, but it's also kind of the fun part of it, I think, is I always learn something new in those times of like, cause you're always trying to hack or do something quicker. And so I always learn a new skill when I'm doing these next day edits, cause I have to, like, I learned something new. But yeah, those are really hard, to be honest.
Yeah.
But fun.
Yeah.
I'm just going to scan if there are any more interesting little questions like that, because I didn't even read any of this.
No, we can do questions. I can speak quicker.
Okay. Nice, big cool. I love that stuff.
We've spoken enough about the Reds, haven't we?
Yeah.
That could be quite interesting. What's something luxury couples care about that surprises most people? Bit of a hard question, that, isn't it? Sorry.
I don't know if it's, I don't know. I mean, I think everyone's an individual, so I think we get surprised by what people find important. I think in general, just the experience. I think that's something we always we try to train up on people, or it's so much less about the video. I mean, the video has to be good and it always will be good, but it is so much more how you move through the space. And if you're not stressful, and I think so many people just get in their way and in their head about like, I have to get this shot. And you're like, okay, maybe you don't actually, maybe just chill. And so I think that experience is very important, of their event. I mean, these people spend a lot of money and they don't want it doesn't need to be a video shoot the whole time. Like, so that's important. And not that they've like said it directly to me, but I just know that that's an important thing. I'm like, it's not what you shoot, but it's how you shoot it.
What's next for you? Because it sounds like the last 10 years have been on the up. You've always had something to kind of go after and chase. And there's been the planners, there's been destination, there's been bigger and better things. What is your vision now? Where do you want to take this thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I still think there's so much growth for Storybox within the wedding world. I think, I'm always inspired by new filmmakers and new, like, I feel like even over just the past 2-3-ish years, we've really seen a shift. That's exciting to me. And then it's to learn, how is our voice going to sit in this and how are we going to adjust? And so I think that keeps me busy. Also, I think, that'll happen again. So that'll happen soon enough again, where something kind of shifts. And it's never that I just want to go with styles, but it's more opening these doors of like, okay, we're evolving and media is evolving. And I think media is going to keep evolving. So I think it will keep evolving. So I'm just excited, one, on the video side, just like, I feel like I'm in a good lane. I like where this stuff is going culturally and technologically, and new cameras and new things. Okay. So that's one. Two, I love growing our teams. I found that to be really, really fun. Is investing is very rewarding for me. We have a great team of people, and getting to train them up and pour into them and see them do incredible work and pass along. I made a bunch of mistakes, so getting to pass along what I've learned and to see them flourish is really exciting, and to do things that like maybe none of us thought that we could do, and how they're connected now and how people want them, or like they want to reach out for Armin or Caitlin. Like, we love them. Can we have them for this? That's so cool to me. And that's been a different aspect of this business, where it's not just me anymore. And so getting to pour into people is like really, really fun. And I think, we funny enough, now we are doing more commercial stuff, working with luxury brands, working with hotel groups. And yeah, I mean, something on the horizon someday, and maybe you guys can help because but I would love to shoot a documentary someday. We may have been talking about it back in Saint-Tropez. It's kind of always there. I don't exactly know how to crack it, but I think for so long, I didn't have much I wanted to say, or maybe a perspective. And I think what was so cool about weddings, across the board, even to go back on like why weddings are neat in general, is like, we get so many reps in. Like, I get reps in weekly, where my other filmmaker friends maybe get reps in monthly or reps in every other month. And I get to iterate and try every weekend. Not as much now, but often. And so I feel like you just get to play and do new things. And so, man, shooting all these weddings is really, I feel like just now, maybe in 10 years in, I'm starting to find my voice, and kind of like how now I can walk into a space and say, this is how we capture, this is how I'd like to capture, this is the story I want to tell here. And that took a long time. And that's now bled over into commercial work, and kind of feeling like I actually have a perspective that I can shoot from and tell a story from. And so that's been exciting. So I'd like to do more work in that area. And really, as I look at it, like, our team has grown so much and are so talented that we can really tackle I think we can really tackle any project. I mean, we got commercial filmmakers on our team. We have documentary filmmakers on our team. I actually don't pull from wedding people. I pull from filmmakers, and we got, what do you call it? Dialogue, or like, people that do like movies. And so we're able to really pull in a lot of this, and it's been fun to lean on their, strengths when we're trying a different thing, or maybe trying a different, or we do a lot of stuff that we don't post and a lot of commercial things, but, I'd love to work more into that and really, yeah, there's a lot I'd love to do. I'd love to shoot music videos. I know that, but like, I would love to do some of my favorite artists. I think that would be really fun, or films, or, my dream is to shoot a documentary about musicians. And I think, or follow a musician someday. So that's on the horizon someday. But yeah,
sure
I
you'll
think
do
like
it.
try not to get too distracted, and enjoy what I have right here, and just keep trying to beat myself every weekend and try to do a little bit better. So that keeps me pretty busy.
Nice.
Can I, as you know, this whole podcast was spawned from our British Wedding Film Festival event. And I just wanted to talk about festivals and awards in general. Now, I remember back in the day, Weaver was like the ultimate kind of like wedding film awards. Are they still as prevalent?
You know what? I don't know. I see them a little bit. I think for like one really cool thing that I felt like happened to me was I got to be on the Harper's Bazaar list of top wedding cinematographers in the world. And then that kind of retired. So I like got in, and then it's not a thing anymore. I think there's so many lists out there these days now that like everywhere you look, I'm always getting tagged in something. And to me, it feels like, yeah, I don't know if those lists mean as much these days, but I don't know if there's like a great filmmaker, anything out. I'm not trying to diss anyone, but I feel like there's so many that it's kind of diluted, but there's not like a really cool filmmaker one. You guys. But yeah, there just doesn't seem to be a spot that celebrates that.
I don't know if you're aware of the format that we run, but it's very much kind of like an Oscars inspired format with separate awards for separate aspects of filmmaking, like best cinematography, best.
See, I think that's so fun. Like it should be.
Yeah. It's all about the fun, to be honest. Well, yeah, we had a brilliant black tie event, and I think even though we're called the British Wedding Film Festival, we're very much a two-tier kind of like festival. There's like half of the awards are open to international filmmakers, and half the awards are just geared towards the British filmmakers. And yeah, we had some great entries from some great filmmakers from all over the world. And I think I'd like to spread the word, because I don't think there's anything like what we do anywhere in the world.
So I always said, I've had this idea for years, but I think like photographers get the joy of printing their work in a magazine. That's kind of like okay, we made it. Like, look, it's in print, it's here, but there's nothing for that for video. It's only a link on a website or a here or there. But I'm like, an in-person event where you could watch the films, or like, that's how they're supposed to be watched, on a big vertical screen in a movie theater. No, I'm joking. In a wide screen in a movie theater. But I think like, man, that is so cool, because that's kind of it. To see your work on a big screen and to come in person, like it's incredible.
I thought it'd be a funny joke, but like totally unrealistic to try and get you to come to our festival. But now that I've learned that you traveled all the way to Seattle to deliver a coffee,
I'll come. For 100%.
Do it, man.
I haven't had an email from Chris yet, out of the blue, saying, "Can I come and shoot the festival?" He's not
I'll be in town. I'll be in town this weekend. Would you like some coffee?
Yeah, please. Actually, that'd be lovely. A flat white for me, Chris. Thank you.
On that note, do you think it's time we circled back and reminded ourselves of the two truths and a lie?
I've been thinking about this small cat for an hour.
I've been watching out for it in the background. It's not there. So, Chris, remind us, what were your three facts?
My three were, the titanium plate in my wrist from falling when I was young. I have a tiny cat with short legs. And then sleeping in some of New York's worst hostels when I was starting up my business and trying to film in New York because I didn't have any money.
Well, that's got to be true.
It could all be true.
That's got to be true.
It could all be true.
I wonder if he's done a sly one and he's got titanium in his ankle and he's just like switched it a bit. Because a tiny cat, I mean, who makes that up?
Yeah, it's so random. Why would you make that up? Like,
Dang it.
so I will say this is true. That's
Right.
at least one of three that I'm fairly certain about.
The New York hostels has got to be true. You know, where else would you stay? Unless, you know, it's like rough on the streets.
And it adds up because he kept saying he didn't have any money at the beginning, you know?
Correct. Okay.
Oh, God.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely. No, I have a tiny cat. I don't know where he's at.
So it's the titanium is a lie.
Yeah, no, I actually did fall and hurt my
Yeah.
wrist when I was a kid, and it just hurts really bad still. And I have no titanium plate, and it just hurts. But yeah, no, it doesn't help any gimbal use, and the gimbal makes it hurts it.
No. So did you actually give an official answer, Joss?
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was
I
yours?
think we were both heading for the same one there. Jet. I was going to say the platinum plate is the lie.
So right, we're both right then. Okay.
I want one.
Yeah.
Let me get one. I want one of those.
Yeah, he wants one.
Yeah, so it's a
Because I
draw.
was going to say on that one, I think we mentioned that one of our guests said he had no bone in his nose, and that made you think of that, I reckon.
Yeah, I was on
Yeah.
ChatGPT being like, "Can you give me a realistic for that?" That's what I was doing. But yeah,
Well,
I
yeah.
slept in some bad hostels that were 6 stories up. Like when I'd go to these knot galas and events, and I would like they weren't even big enough for me to stretch out, and it was chicken wire within a building, and like I couldn't even lay flat. And then like I think just a couple of years ago, I saw it on TikTok as like, check out one of New York's worst hostels, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's where I stayed for like the first 2 years of my business because that's all I can afford. It was like $50 to spend the night there.
Well, no, it's great. Rags to riches story. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I'm blown away that you agreed to do this. So yeah, from the
Dude,
bottom of
of
my
course.
heart, thanks for coming on. It really means a lot.
My pleasure, man.
Thank you, Chris, very much.
Yeah,
No,
guys,
hope
it was
to
super,
see-
super fun.
Yeah. So see you in Manchester on the 1st of March.
Let's do it.
We'll extend it to like sort of like a week of fun things to do, just to make it worth your while.
Oh, I'm not even joking. 100%. I would absolutely love to come out. I haven't got to spend tons of time out there. It'd be really, really fun.
Oh, excellent. Oh, I've not mentioned. Oh, I'll try and get Catherine up. Catherine Reed was our mutual friend. We'll get her up to Manchester as well, so you get
Cool.
get all the friends together. Yeah, thanks a lot, mate. And
All right,
good
guys.
luck in the
Thanks,
future.
Thank you. Yeah,
Cheers.
My pleasure.